What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, Craig Mish in Halloween costume extraordinaire. I guessed Mad Hatter originally. I apparently was wrong. Craig, why don't you tell everybody what you're dressed as?
Willy Wonka, my friend.
Where is your chocolate bar? Where is your golden ticket?
I have neither.
Where is your...
I have a super contest ticket for you. 5 teams. 5-0. 0-5. Could be either.
Well, you know what? I hear those tickets make the chocolate taste terrible, so... Wah, wah. Really,
Charlie,
see,
what do we have for tonight?
I'm gonna quote Willy Wonka, and you don't even pick up on the quote.
Listen, I'm doing the best I can. All right.
Are you?
I tried. What at a scale of 1 to 10? At least I gave you a 4.
Yeah, I'll go 2.5 to 3 right now.
Oh,
Where's the hat? Where's the top hat?
It was the last minute thing.
Where's your Snosberry wallpaper? I mean, to not even have a chocolate bar in hand and say that you're Willy Wonka is a bit of an atrocity.
I think that's. Oh, wait, here we go. Can I interest you in a little hand sanitizer?
No, thank you. I've got some of my own.
Hello.
All right. Well, here we go. Halloween shenanigans here, brought to you by Willy Wonka and Howard Bender. It's time to talk Super Contest picks. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot going on in the games, Craig. Instead of getting all the COVID nonsense that we keep getting inundated with every week, this time it was all about the weather.
Yeah.
And we're talking about at least 5 different games which were supposed to be dramatically affected by either heavy winds, 20 to 25 mile an hour, 40 mile an hour gusts, or in some cases like Baltimore and Buffalo, it's supposed to also be kind of rainy. How do you factor in a lot of the weather when it comes to making picks against the spread? I know that you pivot to the unders usually in those games, but talk to me about the other way.
Well, I think that a lot of the teams that are at home get an advantage because, again, when you're talking about weather, at least you would think that they're used to playing in those elements and they've practiced in it for the last few days. So you would think that there'd be some sort of advantage to that, but any kind of home field advantage, as we know, has been taken away by the lack of fans. So I think in particular in the Cleveland game, I think that's the one game to me that I may have been more interested in, but given that fact and the fact that Mayfield essentially has had one good passing game in the last 5, and although I'm a believer after watching that game, I think it could affect things. They don't have Nick Chubb. So, look, it could affect teams different ways. We know the Bears' passing game is not great to begin with, and whoever's going to be throwing the ball there doesn't have the strongest arm, whether it's Mitch Trubisky or if it's Nick Foles, not the best accuracy either. So I would think that factors in for the Saints a little bit. But ironically, a lot of the picks that we used this week didn't really factor into that. I mean, we were aware of it, but I don't think that it played a role in what we selected.
No, I don't either, actually. So let's get right to it. We with 3-2 week last week put us just slightly above 500 for the season right now. 7 weeks in the books, right above 500. Feeling good about that. Takes a 4-1 week, a 5-0 week to really just push us into that money line. So let's get to it. First game that we took, Vikings on the road, yes, but getting 6.5 here in a game with, apparently super cold temperatures,
right?
Very heavy winds as well. They're saying that's 20 to 25 gusts, which could end up 30 to 40 miles an hour. I figure Aaron Rodgers plays in this no matter what anyway, so I don't really worry about the pack given the weather. Might want to worry a little bit about the Vikings and Kirk Cousins, but again, the run defense for Green Bay is absolutely atrocious. I think this is a very heavy Dalvin Cook week. I think that's what the Vikings do. They come in just like they did with Seattle, run the ball heavy, keep the game close.
Yeah, and teams off of a bye in the NFL this season are hitting a really good against the spread rate. I don't know what the reasoning for that would be. In general, it seems like it's because they simply have more rest. But it's early in the season. I don't know that a lot of teams really need that. I guess we're kind of halfway through. That's not fair. In terms of the line, We're getting about, I think, a half a point in value here in the contest because the line is now down to 6. The total is the big mover. The total went from 55 to 50 because of the wind, as you mentioned. So I think we're going to find out this week whether the weather really lived up to the billing, so to speak. But for me, in terms of the handicap, Green Bay's played over their head for the most part all season long. They did the same thing last year. They've been fantastic against the spread. But you mentioned really the key number here, which is the running game. And I don't know what happened to the Packers defense, but I believe they fell behind Houston this past week for last in the NFL against the run. So with Cook back, it would seemingly be a low-scoring game. We know at this point who the Vikings are. They're not going to beat you through the air anymore. It's going to have to be with Cook on the ground. So essentially what we're hoping is for a field goal one way or the other at the end of the game, and we'll take the points with the Vikings on the road.
Well, now they faced each other in week 1, different scenario in week 1, and I think really the Vikings are looking to get it going, and the Packers really have shown that shortcoming on their run defense. So I like that pick. Next pick, we're taking the Titans. We're laying 5.5 points here to the Bengals, getting a point in value here because this line is at 6.5 right now. Derrick Henry all day long. I mean, to me, this is going to be a scary one for the Bengals.
Yeah, and it really, again, if weather factors in, it does favor Tennessee here. The total went from 55 again to 50, and the spread went the opposite side. You would have thought, well, maybe it'll close down and some value in on Cincinnati, but definitely not the case. Tennessee up to 6.5, opened up at 4. Late Sunday night, early Monday. And if it comes down to the two running games, this is a huge advantage for the Titans with no Joe Mixon on the other side. So I'm not confident that Tennessee is going to stop Cincinnati altogether because they have yet to prove that in a game this year. Their defense is definitely down from where it was a year ago. But as we've talked about, it's kind of time to fade the Bengals a little bit here because you can only play so many close games and have your heart broken without just assuming it's going to happen. And we saw that with Atlanta a number of times this year and even last year. So I don't know that this game will even be particularly close. We do like Tennessee in this one big.
Yeah. Further down on the slate, we're looking at the Seahawks here, laying 3 points to the 49ers. Interesting scenario here. We're looking at everybody hurt in the Seahawks backfield. It might mean that DJ Dallas ends up as their starting running back. But I think really this just comes down to the 49ers defense not being what it once was over the last couple of seasons and, dealing with the injuries that they are dealing with. And it's Russell Wilson, it's Tyler Lockett, it's DK Metcalf. There's no Richard Sherman in the secondary. So you look at either cornerback that they have going up against Metcalf, and there's a significant size differential that Metcalf has a major advantage. And then if you look at Tyler Lockett coming out of the slot, who is it? Jamar Taylor, I think, is the slot corner for the 49ers. I mean, that's Lockett all day long. Taylor's been getting burned by slot receivers. He's given up 3 straight touchdowns to slot receivers in the last 3 weeks. So I like Seattle here at home, laying those points.
What's interesting is that with the huge game with Lockett last week, if I would have told you that those were his numbers before the game, you probably would have guaranteed me that Seattle come out on top. But I think that what last week may have showed, which is really interesting, is that if the Seahawks don't get Metcalf going, that may be the only way they lose a game this year in the NFL. They are really to blame, I think, for really not opening up the offense a little bit last week and focusing so much on Lockett. The one time Metcalf did catch a pass, we saw him run all the way down the field and score a touchdown. So running game is a little concerning. But I think that you could say that on the other side of the ball, too, with San Francisco. Look, Mostert and Jeff Wilson have definitely proven to be viable in the running game, and Wilson and Mostert have won games outright for San Francisco this year. Now I would have to think that we're taking a dip down in talent here with that running game for sure, because while Coleman may be back, McKinnon is being discussed. I don't think McKinnon's going to be a factor at all. I'll be even surprised if McKinnon plays. This kid Hasty from Oklahoma State, he was really good there. And he certainly could be good in this game. And maybe it is just whoever runs for San Francisco is good. But they are down to like their 3rd or 4th string in that spot, banged up all over the place. They do have to go on the road here to Seattle. And it's not like this is a huge number that Seattle's laying 4 or 5. So massive game for the Seahawks here. I think, in my mind, look, I think we consider Seattle the favorite to win the division. but they're going to have to win this game to do it because they just lost to Arizona, and this puts San Francisco one game behind them. So make no mistake about it, they can't afford a loss. We'll take Seattle -3.
We will take Seattle -3. One little sticking point there for the Seattle defense, obviously, is whether or not Jamal Adams is going to play. Put in a limited practice on Friday. I don't necessarily know if that's going to be enough. It was like the only practice he showed up for in a week. So Seattle's going to have to definitely do something about George Kittle. If they don't do anything about George Kittle, then this game could be a little closer than I like. But, I mean, still, we're laying only 3. It's not like we're giving up 7.5. So.
Right, and again, we're picking 5 games. If we started off and said, "What's our favorite game?" This would not be one of them. But you got to pick 5 games, and you got to try to pick the best 5 on the board. So this is one of the 5. It may not be the favorite.
Well, we know what your favorite is, Craig, and why don't we get to that right now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't you go ahead? I'm gonna let you break this.
Let me verify the line is what it is, just to make sure where it is right now. Okay, so So this week is a big contrarian play for me, and I like Denver this week at home against the Chargers for a number of reasons. Reason number 1 is outside of the Cowboys, the Chargers are also horrible over the last 10 years against the spread as favorites. Just absolutely terrible, almost an instant fade. That's first of all for me. Second of all, I don't think there's any question that when you match up the Chargers and Broncos, I don't think that you're looking at a huge advantage for either team. Do I think the Chargers are a little bit better? Sure. Is their offense a little bit better? Yes, probably a little bit better. But when I look at a game like this and I see 2 teams that are more or less even playing, if I make a spread, the most that I would ever make this game is Chargers pick'em or Chargers -1. I don't think they have any business being a road favorite in a place that notoriously is still a tough place to play in Denver. Also, the coaching of Denver is poor. They play a very conservative offense. So this isn't the kind of game I don't think that you're going to see like last week where the Chargers had to go toe-to-toe with Jacksonville. And look how much the Chargers were up on Jacksonville, and the Jaguars just kept coming back on them. Their defense, which I thought going into the season was top 10, has been bottom 10. So I do think it's just a matter of looking at the value here. And I know that the line has moved up even a little bit more to give the Chargers -3.5, but I just think it's a good spot for Denver. Maybe not to win, but to cover in a low-scoring, sort of kicking field goal type game. Because Fangio at this point, what he's proven, Howard, is that anything that's more than 2 yards, he ain't going for it. He's kicking the field goal. 4th and 2, 4th and 3, 4th and 4, it's field goal time.
Taking the points.
And those are guaranteed points on the board. Their kicking is good.
Right.
So, less chances to win, more chances to cover. A low-scoring game, I like Denver plus points. And I don't like Denver at all.
I know. I'm still stunned by it. With everything that you've said to me about your feelings about Denver, I even tried talking Denver up in the preseason, talking about Pat Shurmur, and he's taking over this offense. And
yeah, no, I didn't believe any of it because again, the coach is going to be the one that's going to make the final decision there, and I don't think Fangio is brought back next year. It is shocking to me that you have John Elway running the operation there, and they're still stuck in 1992 offenses here. Like it is very surprising to me. I understand that they lost Sutton, I get it, but they just don't play aggressive at all. And if you watch those games, it's the same thing 2 years in a row. Maybe it's Drew Lock. I don't know. Maybe it's the way that they call the plays. But if you're watching that game tomorrow, late in the afternoon, watch how many times Denver hikes the ball with 1 second left or 2 seconds left. Like every time. They never get the
clock as much as possible.
And why? What is the point of that? Like you're not the Chiefs. Like you're not up 31-0. Like I would think that you. I mean it's almost like they're like trying to outstat time of possession with other teams. It's very bizarre. I don't know why they do it. Rivers did it toward the end of his career with the Chargers. They felt the time of possession was going to help them in the long run. And there's like a stat that shows if you win time of possession, you're going to win 60% of your football games. But you also have to have a good team. So Denver does not, but that's conducive to covers. And I wouldn't take Denver on the road at any point. But let's be real. Comparing two teams, I think we would say the Chargers are better than the Patriots. Probably so. Denver dominated New England. So they don't have to do that against the Chargers. They just got to keep it close. So it's just a weird looking play for me. That's why, basically.
Yeah, that's okay. Listen, you know what? Sometimes you go against the grain. Sometimes you just have to do it. I mean, it's just, you got a feeling about a game. You got a feeling about a game. So that's our fourth. So Vikings plus 6.5. Titans laying 5.5. We're taking the Seahawks laying 3. Got the Broncos getting 3. Last game that we decided to take, we're going back to our good old friends in Pittsburgh. Taking the Steelers plus 4. This game now is supposed to have rain throughout the entire game. So not even talking about big gusting winds. You're just talking about rain, wet surface, slick, wet ball. Definitely plays more towards, slow plodding offenses, trying to go after each other. A lot of running. And I just, again, and I think you've quoted the numbers, right? I mean, how many times have the games been like 3 points or less in the differential?
At least half of their matchups have been that. And if you eliminate the Duck Hodges matchups last year and Mason Rudolph's, it's even higher than that. The Baltimore dominated them last year, but Pittsburgh didn't have a quarterback. So yeah, I think that the only thing that worries me a little bit, and maybe they're laying 4 because they're off a bye. Again, the ATS record for teams off a bye is staggering thus far. So maybe that's what's working against Pittsburgh here, but they trend-wise have been very good in our contest picks going on 2 years. We seem to have the number there, and look, sometimes when it comes to betting, you're going on hunches and you're not going on stats and data. Look, a lot of this is 50-50 too. But it's no secret that Howard and I have struggled with the Cowboys the last 2 years, like figuring out when or not to take them. Atlanta's been a team like that, I think, for us a little bit as well. We've identified the Chargers are bad as favorites. We seem to be pretty good when we're picking the Steelers. And it's not that we pick them every week. This would be the 5th time, I think, in 8 or 9 weeks. Probably. But when we do, they seem to win and cover. And by the way, the times that we didn't pick them this season, they didn't cover in all the games this year. They were not perfect. So we're going to take them plus the 4 and assume that this will be a 3-point game. The weather will help if it is bad, of course, in this situation. And look, you also, when you're taking a dog of this size, 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5, you have to believe that the dog you're taking is going to win. You have to think that they're going to win. If you're taking a plus 3 thinking it's just going to be a cover, you need to take the other side. And I do think Pittsburgh has a chance to win, so that'll be our final play.
Beautiful. Love it. Lock it down. Those are our 5. This ticket will be posted over at wageralarm.com as soon as we get it sent back to us, so that you guys can see every single play that we make. So if you go to wageralarm.com, you can look at the tickets and where we are as far as the standings go throughout that. Any of the games that we kind of talked back and forth, it was a pretty quick back and forth from us, but one of the games, and I'll throw this out at you here, and I know that we talked about Miami with the fact that we just don't know. Like, no clue how Tua is going to do or anything like that. The fantasy community, at least over at Fantasy Alarm, a lot of buzz talking about the Miami defense as being a good DFS play, primarily because the Rams turn around and they've got to travel across country again. Yeah, they beat Chicago, but I mean, it's Chicago, and the Rams have kind of looked like pretenders throughout the entire season there. So, I just threw that out for you, 3.5 points, because you're getting that extra hook with the home team. Tua's big first debut. Do you just kind of side with Miami on that one?
Yeah, it's a really hard game to call. I think I did an exercise earlier this week on my show and went back and looked at Prescott, Ryan, Stafford, Wilson. I'm trying to remember who else was Andrew Luck. Like, I think it was 6 quarterbacks that I just took 6 quarterbacks that are all pretty good and playing in the NFL and went back and looked at their record. And I didn't look at the ATS record. I probably should have done that, but they were 2-4. Newton was in there too. And the numbers, Howard, were not good for almost any of the starting quarterbacks at that time. Now, look, the league is different, and Burrow looks good, and Murray looks good, and these guys are coming in looking good. But in general, the first start, it was a lot of 170 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. So, I don't know what to expect really in this game. And look, I think that Tua is dynamic, and I think that he can make all the plays, but it's his first start in the NFL, so I suppose it's just like a pass for me, not knowing what it's going to be. I don't know, Howard, if you caught, by the way, yesterday, Tua's brother played for Maryland, threw like 5 touchdowns and 400 yards.
I did catch that. I didn't watch the game, but I did catch that.
Another Tagovailoa in the NFL coming up.
Right, that's what we need. Right, bring them all on. Bring them all on. Somebody. Listen, the Jets will get somebody, right? I mean, at some point or another.
Well, hopefully, Trevor Lawrence tested positive for COVID. He missed the game this week, and they won. And they announced that after the game today, he's not going to play next week against Notre Dame. So interesting.
What is that? That doesn't mean anything with him wanting to stay in school for another year because he doesn't want to play for the Jets.
Nah, you don't have to worry about that. It'll be all right.
No, you sure?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't see guys doing that anymore. But
really,
I really don't.
Okay.
Cowboys, Eagles. Eagles
no.
minus 10.5. We're not siding anywhere on that one, but you can't go with DiNucci. That's for sure. Can't do that. The Chiefs are laying 19. That was an immediate pass for us. Raiders at the Browns. This line is chomped down to 2.5 now. And the total went from 56 to 49. So it tells you, I mean, there must be weather involved in these games for these totals to dive so low.
Oh yeah. Well, they're saying in Cleveland. I mean, here I can just pull it up for you. The games that are most in question right now are. Oops, wait a minute, because I got it all right here in front of
Buffalo. Also very low total.
Buffalo. All right, so here's what you're getting. You're getting here Tennessee at Cincinnati. Okay. High wind alert, 15 to 20 mile an hour, sustained with gusts around 30 miles an hour. That's in Cincinnati. In Chicago with the Saints, winds around 20 to 25, gusts close to 40. Majority of the game played with winds more like 15 to 20 with 30 mile an hour gusts. That's Chicago.
Wow.
Pittsburgh, Baltimore, rain expected throughout most of the game, 10 to 15 mile an hour with stronger gusts. New England, Buffalo, sustained winds around 20 miles an hour, scattered showers throughout the game, temperatures in the low 40s, cold, wet, and sloppy. That was my, Anyway, Vegas against Cleveland, sustained winds between 25 to 30 miles an hour, gusts likely around 45. The interesting thing about this one here, winds are expected to run parallel to the field. So with your back to the wind, it could be sailing it over everybody's head. Minnesota, Green Bay. Winds around 25 miles an hour. Gusts close to 40 early.
25? Wow, that's a big number. Yeah.
Gusts up to 40. Winds gradually winding down in the second half, though. Temperatures in the low 30s. Feels like the 20s. So that's the weather issues that you're dealing with, and that's why you're seeing all of these lines drop so significantly.
And it makes sense. It's just once you get into the scheme of the game, then you figure out if it really means something there. But I don't know that 10 to 15 is going to factor in much in the game, but 25, yeah, that's
which is basically what everybody's saying. It's the 15 to 20. That's okay. That's fine.
Right.
Now, if that comes with a whole bunch of rain and stuff, well, then that's a different story. It just kind of changes that dynamic around. But everybody's looking at, the majority of these winds staying in that 20 to 30 range.
Right. Patriots at Bills, the total is 40. Buffalo is -4. This is kind of it for New England here. I think they gotta win this game today, or tomorrow. And then Colts Lions. Colts -3 at Detroit. I'm not a big Colts guy, but I don't have that trust yet with the Lions. I know I said last week if they won, then I would start to trust them. But did they really win, or did they kind of get gifted a win? So
I think they got gifted the win on that one there. Yeah. Colts coming off a bye week also. Their defense is healthy again. Yeah.
Yeah, probably not. And then Tampa at the Giants Monday night, and Tampa laying a big number. It's amazing. Is the game in Tampa or New York Monday?
The game is right? In New York, yes.
Yeah, I mean, every week's a home dog, right? In Monday Night Football. I guess last week actually was not. Last week was Bears dog at the Rams, but a lot of dogs. A lot of home dogs on Monday night that have not covered, by the way.
Yeah, no Devonta Freeman in that game, so.
Oh no.
Well, I mean, listen, it at least gives them another element of something. All right, fine.
Tiki Barber's out too, and Jacobs. Oh, God.
Yeah, but Imani Toomer is going to come back and play.
Victor Cruz. Yeah, so that's about it. I feel like yeah, a lot of people will be pounding unders tomorrow based on weather, and that seems reasonable in some of the games, in particular Minnesota Green Bay. Yeah, that's one that, I mean, you're not really getting any value anymore on it because it's 50, and it's been dangerous to bet unders in the NFL this year. But the last 2 weeks have normalized a little bit. There's been a little bit more in terms of that, so we'll see.
Well, all right. Well, there you go. That's going to do it then for us here at the Wager Alarm live stream. Oh, thank you, Mr. Wonka. Appreciate you you showing up and joining us here today.
You're welcome.
Happy Halloween to everybody out there. Big thanks to John and Pemba for producing. For Willy Wonka, a.k.a. Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you next time.